It's time for our Sunday check-in. We're here with Roshini Rajkumar, attorney, podcast host, and crisis strategist, who's here to talk about grieving and mindfully preparing for death. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Barrett.
Yeah, and this is, a personal subject for you. Can you tell me a little bit about what makes you passionate about this topic?
Well, it's one of those things that people don't prepare enough for. And I've just seen in my own life, I've seen in other people's lives, whether it's sudden or long-term, someone's dying over time, we just don't prepare enough for it. I myself lost my father before I turned 12, my stepfather in 2018, my mother in 2021. Each was a different kind of thing, shocking in its own way. And then recently lost a member of my team, our webmaster, who after about 8 months lost his battle with leukemia. And there he is, Michael.
Oh. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, and the thing about that is that was also sudden because he was really fighting the cancer and it came up. And fortunately, his life partner was by his side. I'm sure they had a lot of beautiful times together in those final months, but you just don't always know. So I'm big on having a plan and preparing.
Well, again, I'm so sorry for your loss. I know that's very new, fresh for you, and my heart goes out to you and your team. There's some simple steps you can do, right, when your loved one is still alive. Can you talk a little bit about that and preparing for that?
Right, I think you have to celebrate as much as possible. So even if you know someone is passing, and in some cases it might be sudden. In the case of my mother, it was very sudden, so we didn't really have time, but we also lived our life in a very celebratory fashion. So I'll always remember so many great memories and not have regret about that. So celebrate. If you think, oh, I shouldn't call them now or I shouldn't go to lunch, do it. Get it done. And when you have kind of what I would call the blessing of knowing, then you really can also talk with them, ask them pointed questions about their wishes. Like, oh, you know what, that special piece of jewelry, sister or mom or friend, what should we do with that? Who gets that? Those kinds of things, so that your loved ones aren't also then left to make all these decisions kind of wondering what you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it can be awkward, but talk about the benefit of it making the grieving process just a little easier.
Yeah, it really does. And sometimes if you can kind of take it on as a bit of a job, right? Like, it's a job that's only going to help you. It's going to help their memory live on. If you are in the position where you're the executor or you're the oldest child or you're the spouse, whatever it is, and maybe you also need help. So ask for that help. But it is that time, sadly, even when you're not knowing that maybe the end is near, in life is the time to gather those documents, put them in kind of a lockbox or a black box or a black folder, whatever you want to call it, and let your loved ones know, hey, all the insurance documents, the passwords, they're all in this one specific spot, so they can find all of those things, so that they're not scrambling either when you're in the hospital, if it's a longer term situation, or if it's sudden.
Yeah, you can take that power into your own hands and do that for your loved ones.
Yes, and I think about that too, Barrett. When we lost my mother in 2021, and it was really sudden, and she was the middle child of 5 siblings, so she wasn't even the oldest. I'm the second oldest cousin, so I really said to my aunts and uncles, please share all of these different things with your kids, my cousins. I asked my cousins to talk to their parents. Also, this is kind of touchy, but if you can write a draft of your own obituary. And as someone who's written 2 obituaries for my mother and my stepfather, there are things you don't know about their youth, about their younger days. So if you can be that person, even if it's drafty draft, it would be such a gift to give your loved ones.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your wisdom on this subject. It's a difficult one, but one that's important to talk about. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the Crisis Files can be found wherever you get podcasts and on thecrisisfiles.com. You can also follow on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files.